Today, at Gadget User, I'm reviewing the DJI Mini SE, a small compact little drone that comes in at a very competitive price, but doesn't give up too much. The DJI Mini SE is a compact little drone measuring in at 249 by 289 by 56mm when it's unfolded with the propellers attached and weighing in at 249 grams. This weight is important and I will elaborate on this later in the video. I purchased my drone with the Fly More combo package, which gives it a carry bag among other accessories in addition to the drone and controller. The DJI Mini SE has the internals of the Mini 1 drone in the body of the Mini 2, so you have the Mini 2's flight gear. A lot of people seem to think that this isn't much of an upgrade from the drone, but I see this as you're getting vastly superior flight gear in a similar package for a similar price. Looking around the drone now, you have the camera up front with its 3-axis gimbal. Around the back, you have a USB-C port as well as a micro SD card. A side note here, you have to use this micro SD card as the drone does not have any internal storage. On the bottom of the drone, you have the only 2 object avoidance sensors that are used for takeoff and landing with this drone. And on the top of the drone, you have the 4 propellers that are straight off the Mini 2. Another side note here, these aren't quick release propellers, so you will need a screwdriver to take the propellers on or off. However, a screwdriver is included in the package. When you unbox the DJI Mini SE with the Fly More combo package, you end up pulling the carrying case out of the cardboard box and everything is housed within this carrying case. When you unzip the carrying case, you immediately have the drone on the left as well as the charger and controller on the right. Inside the charger, you also have the 3 batteries that this Fly More package comes with. Underneath the charger, you have all the various cables required to charge the devices in this package, as well as the cables required to connect your smartphone to the controller, as well as extra propellers, joysticks, and that aforementioned screwdriver. This drone is extremely easy to use. It is aimed at beginners, so DJI made everything as easy as possible for new users. However, there are some more advanced features that experienced users can take advantage of. Each battery will allow the DJI Mini SE to fly for roughly 30 minutes. However, I don't like risking my drone, so I only fly my drone for between 20 to 25 minutes on each battery. These batteries are also interchangeable with the Mini 2 if you have both drones. Whilst you're in the air, you have the ability to shoot 12 megapixel photos or up to 2.7K video at 30 frames per second or 1080p video at 60 frames per second. The camera is stabilized by and has the ability to use the 3-axis gimbal, which allows you to take some really cool shots. There are also 3 pre-programmable modes called Droney, Rocket and Helix that allow you to take some really interesting shots of subjects automatically. Unfortunately, there is no active tracking of subjects with this drone, however you can somewhat fake it with these 3 modes for a few seconds. In both photos and video, you can manually adjust your camera settings, which hasn't been available on all DJI drones previously, so this is a very welcome feature. You are able to dial in an ISO of between 100 and 3200 in both photos and video with this drone. However, when you do go into the higher ISO settings, the picture quality does degrade significantly. Whilst flying, you can achieve speeds of up to 47 kilometers per hour, and whilst ascending and descending, you can achieve speeds of 14 kilometers per hour and 11 kilometers per hour respectively. This is useful because it allows the drone to stay relatively stable even when there is moderate wind. Speaking of ascending and descending, this drone allows you to take off and land in the palm of your hand, which is great for when your terrain is less than ideal. Just make sure you're very careful when doing this though, because when a propeller hits you, it hurts. Don't ask me how I know this. Getting back to the benefits of the low weight that I alluded to before, because this drone is under 250 grams, you don't have to register it in a lot of countries, and you have a lot less restrictions when you're flying it in these countries. What this means in Australia is you're basically allowed to fly your DJI Mini SE closer to airports, but please do not fly your drone in restricted areas as this is illegal. Unfortunately, due to the drone's small size, the transmission distance for the live view video is quite poor. DJI states that this drone can be flown up to 4 kilometers away from the controller, but in my experience, this is simply not the case. I found you really cannot fly this drone more than 500 meters from the controller without getting some significant interference on the live view video signal, which is a bit of a letdown, but it's something we have to deal with. The DJI Fly app works really well, and I experience no crashing or weirdness, which with a piece of equipment as expensive as this is a definite plus. All the controls are laid out neatly, and I didn't really have to strain myself when I was looking for anything. To be honest, I don't really have much to say about the DJI Fly app because it did not annoy me at all and seemed to work really seamlessly. Now, let's take a look at some pros and cons for the DJI Mini SE. Now, I can't start a pros list without first mentioning the price. In Australia, my drone came to $560 with the Fly More combo. However, if you don't want the Fly More package, it comes to $460. For what you're receiving with the Fly More combo package, I suggest that most people end up spending the extra $100 like I did. Compared to the other drones in DJI's lineup, I feel that the Mini SE is also a great deal. The Mini 2 is nearly $300 more than this drone and does solve some of the cons that I'll go into shortly because of the minor benefits it has over this drone. The Mavic 3, on the other hand, is in a different drone class entirely, costing over $3,000. Therefore, I feel that this drone is priced very well and will definitely have consumers thinking about what they actually need out of a drone. Another pro of this drone is that it's super quiet. Most drones that I've encountered are either super loud or have an obnoxious whine, or both. The Mini SE, on the other hand, I've found to be not as loud, and the whine isn't as jarring as other drones. This isn't a benefit for me as the owner and operator of this drone so much, but it's definitely a benefit for the people around me when I'm flying this drone. Now, taking a look at cons, my first con with this device is the distance you can fly this drone and the interference you get with it. I feel like 4 kilometers is a gross overstatement of the capabilities of this drone, when in actuality I can only really fly mine 500 meters. Even if DJI stated that you could only fly this drone 5 meters, I feel that I would still be disappointed because this just feels that tad bit limiting. Ideally, I'd like to be able to fly this drone twice the distance that is possible now. However, I feel if they put this capability into this drone, it would be significantly more expensive, or DJI would cannibalize their other drones' sales. Another gripe that I have with this drone is that there's no physical button to change the flight mode on the controller. This is a setting that I use quite frequently, as I generally fly my drone in sport mode to the location where I'm going to take some footage, and then switch into another mode to actually take the footage. In my opinion, tapping the screen to change this setting is not the greatest of user experiences, and this is something I'd like to see changed in a future model. My last complaint about this drone is that it does not allow you to shoot in 4K video. Now, I put this one last because I understand why DJI did this. You have to remember that this is a beginner drone at a very cheap price point, and unless you're a professional, 2.7K is probably more than likely going to satisfy your needs. In saying that, for my needs, I do wish it did shoot in 4K video, even if it was only at 24 frames per second. To summarize, the DJI Mini SE is an amazing drone with a great user experience, especially when you consider the price. To answer the question I posed at the beginning of this video, I do feel like the DJI Mini SE does cut some notable items in an attempt to cut costs. However, I don't think it cuts too many of these items where it becomes a poor value. I would have absolutely no objections recommending this drone to a Gadget user who is just starting out in the drone space, and I would rate this product 4.7 out of 5.